Hello everyone, today I'm bringing you a video that is a little bit out of my comfort zone. As you know, I mainly deal with British and Commonwealth stuff, but today we are going into a deactivated weapon that is from a country that is a little bit, I guess, unknown during the First and Second World War, even though this country did fight in the First World War. But they remain neutral in the second. So without any further ado, let's actually take a look and bring the weapon in front of the camera. Unfortunately, I can't fit the whole gun in frame, but this is a deactivated Mauser M1904/39. And of course, even though yes, this is deactivated, we still have to provide safety checks because it is a firearm at the end of the day. Although it's not live, but still, we still have to provide safety checks. Now, a little bit of history behind the gun. These guns originally started off as long guns, and the contract would be with DWM in Berlin, Germany, to produce about 100,000 of these rifles. Which is really a hybrid between Mauser and Kropatschek, and really the Mannlicher Schonauer, which is another rifle, which is a whole can of worms. And it's actually rather interesting as it actually has a rotary double stack magazine. These rifles would have been originally chambered in 6.5 by 54 millimeter. Now, unfortunately, I do not have 6.5 by 54 millimeter. The closest thing I have is 6.5 Carcano. So that is a 6.5 Carcano round. And as you can see, it is round nosed. And that's what this old gun used to fire. Would be a round nosed round. Now, this contract would be split into two halves of June of 1905 and June of 1907. But however, due to some technological issues with, in particular, the steel for the barrels, the contracts would ultimately be pushed behind, and the first half of the contract wouldn't be finished until about late 1905. To which then the rest of the contracts would continue in June of 1907 as planned. Now, however, these rifles were in fact used during World War I. When we went to Portugal, we took a lot of these rifles. As you might be aware that during World War I we had a short stockpiles of SMLEs. So we ultimately fell back onto Martini Henrys, the Longleys, Japanese Arasakas, and some Mausers. So we ultimately took this and the ammunition, and we used in World War I until enough SMLEs were supplied to the front line. After World War I, the Portuguese had about, I believe they had about less of these rifles than the contract, unless more were made after the contract had finished. But it was about 100,000 rifles that were made, and there would only be a good handful to actually be converted from 6.5 by 54 millimeter to 8 millimeter Mauser. This conversion would take place in the 1930s, and of course it would change out quite a few things, to which we're actually going to talk about those few things in a minute. For the Second World War, Portugal mainly stayed neutral, and these rifles were converted in 1939, and they were never used for military purposes. So I've explained enough about the rifle. Let's actually get into the features of it. So the gun itself, it's not a long gun, it's actually quite a shorty. Steel Helmet Stan has mentioned that this is about the same length as a German K98K. I don't know. I don't own a K98K. I mean, this gun, I would compare it to my Turkish Mauser, but no longer here with me. Traded out for this bad boy. So the one thing that is unique about the the converted ones is this really nice, if I can move it a little bit more closer, is this really nice front sight hood, as you can see here. It's a V style, and it looks really, really cool. Of course, underneath you got your German style bayonet lug. You would have a cleaning rod, but I do not have the cleaning rod with this. But then again, this has got a really nice stock. As you can see, you still got your 2 springs for removal of the barrel band and the nose cap. And then, you got your standard handguard. So this handguard would have been on the long gun as well. So nothing really changed there. The sights have changed, and actually you can see on the sight ramp, you can still see the old 6.5 markings. So if I actually take the gun, flip it round the other way, we might be able to see one sight marking visible. As you can see there is the 20. There's 20 right there, 20. So that is the original marking for the 6.5 cartridge. And of course, it's been refitted with a tangent sight that actually has the stampings on the leaf. Of course, you got the crown, and then you have, I'm having to flip this rifle quite a bit. You got, of course, you got your bolt. This bolt was changed from the older patterns. Portugal had a Gewehr 88 style of rifle before, with an exposed magazine, but, well, not really an exposed one, but it came out the bottom here, and that was only single stack. This has a really nice action. This is, I'm going to say it, this is even smoother than a K98K, even though I haven't handled the K98K in a long while, but this is smoother than the K98K. And I'm more used to cock on close, not cock on open. But that's besides the point. We do have our standard, you know, Mauser bolt release. And actually, oh, bloody hell. And actually our old markings. Espinada Portuguesa 6.5 mod 1904. And there's the manufacturer. So it's Deutsches Waffen- und Munitionsfabriken Berlin. So it was made in Berlin. Now just note, this rifle was actually designed to be used with stripper clips right from the ground up. So I believe these would use the slab-sided, but in the video by C&R, who's done a great video on this Mauser, and it's actually where I got some of this information from, non-AI slop. It actually showed on the earlier one, that. But like I said, go watch that video. I'll leave a link in the description. It's an hour long, but you will learn so much information. I've actually used some of their videos for previous videos, in particular one about the SMLE. This has a really nice bolt, like so. Still got your standard Mauser flag safety, you know, all the way to the right, locks the trigger, locks the bolt, and then if I flip it round again, fortunately you do not have a middle position. Then of course all the way to there, you can unlock your bolt and fire the weapon. And then of course you've got a butt stock, or your butt with a butt plate. Nothing really fancy there. So now I'm going to take the bolt out of the rifle and actually explain a little bit more of the deactivation mechanism, and also the unique features between this bolt rather than a standard Mauser bolt. So we actually not cock the gun, open the bolt, use the bolt release. The bolt can in fact come out. So here we have the bolt of the rifle, and as you can see, it's a very nice bolt, very simple. It's very simple to manufacture as well. So what do you have? You have a bolt body, you have a cocking piece, you have a unique bolt head. That's right, this bolt head is actually separate, so it's very similar to an SMLE. Now being this is a separate piece. Funny enough, I stuck this in the rail, twisted the bolt head. What do you know? I thought I broke the bolt, but no. Actually, I just found out a way on how to disassemble it. If you're interested, I can do a video on disassembling this gun, but just note my hands will not come out clean. Of course, you've got your flag safety. There's your firing pin. Spin it round, and actually right there is your extractor, just like that. And this bolt really is reminiscent of a Kropatschek style, with this long lug, and then you have the two lugs on there, on the bolt and the the bolt head. But it's also really reminiscent of a Gewehr 88 bolt. So what I shall do is put the bolt back in the gun. Now, one of the things that the Portuguese did want, in fact, is actually, you see this part here inside the trigger guard? You can't really see it that well, but there is a little button right there. We'll probably zoom in on that. There's a little button right there. You push that in, watch what happens. The whole floor plate plus the spring and follower come out, and the Portuguese wanted this design simply because you could easily take out the follower, remove the bolt, and clean the whole gun. So basically this makes it much more easy for cleaning purposes, which I can totally understand why the Portuguese would do this sort of thing. But the issue is, if you had, like, let's say a hot round and it gave you a lot of recoil, like, your finger is right there, so your finger could possibly push that, dropping your remaining cartridges. But I think that's just a I doubt that was very you know, a very prevalent thing at the time. Speaking of hot round, you might be able to notice this tiny little hole right here. If you don't, we'll go and zoom in. There is this tiny little hole right here, and that, a bit like the Japanese Arasaka, unlike the Arasaka, the holes were drilled on the top, this has a hole at the side. And it really serves the same purpose, so that being, if you have a really hot round, for instance, if you didn't have this round, the gas would have nowhere to escape, and ultimately could possibly break the lugs on the bolt. Meanwhile, the Portuguese thought, no, we'll go and drill it, we'll go and have the hole come out the side. Well, this was also said to DWM in Berlin. Have the hole come out the side, and that way gases will be able to escape. So that's a pretty good idea, and I kind of like it. Like I said, it's very similar to the Arasaka, where it has the holes in the top, but the Arasaka has two holes on the top. So that way gas can vent through both of those holes at the same time, quickly relieving pressure on the bolt. Now then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it very informative and enjoyable. This is certainly something I don't do on the channel, is actually talk about you know, weapons from other countries. I'm more focused on British and Commonwealth items, hence the past recent videos, except from the M51 jacket. Still my favourite jacket. But either way, like I said, I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. If you did, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, and of course leave a comment down below. But until then, bye for now.